WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and throw it around day after day. Rumors, trades up, trades back. This player's on the move, that player's on the fall. We'll continue to debate that over the coming weeks as we get ready for the draft on the 26th of the month, where the Ravens sit with the 16th pick. This guy tears parts of that apart, as well as the fantasy sports world and the National Football League for Bleacher Report. He's an NFL analyst there. You can follow his journey there or out on Twitter at IDP Sharks. Gary Davenport joins us as a returning champion here on the eve of another draft where the Ravens are, again, looking for a wide receiver, Gary.
Yeah, but Baltimore was very fortunate to be able to get Michael Crabtree when they were. The Raiders waited a little while before they released him. And Baltimore wasn't in a position where they were going to be able to get in on the bidding for a guy like Allen Robinson. And Sammy Watkins wound up getting just ridiculous money from the Kansas City Chiefs. To be able to get a proven veteran presence like Michael Crabtree to pair with John Brown, they've improved the core. Not that you don't still want to look there in the draft, but I don't know that you necessarily have to now at pick 16.
That's interesting. You'd say they've improved the core. Have they? I don't know that is the popular sentiment here. I guess part of that comes with which Crabtree do we see. We thought we improved the room with Jeremy Maclin and did not. We all felt great about Bashad Perryman the night he was drafted. I haven't really felt great about him since then. This has been an ongoing situation, not just for the Ravens, but finding wide receivers, grooming wide receivers. One of the tougher things to do in the business, right?
Yes, it is. And much like with Jeremy Maclin, like you said with Maclin, I think most people thought that was a pretty solid signing. And, not that Maclin was going to go out and light the world on fire, but he'd be a dependable veteran receiver for you folks. And we've seen it happen. Macklin's certainly not the only guy it's happened with. Sometimes those veterans don't pan out. This year in free agency, the reality of the situation was Baltimore did not have the wiggle room to go nuts on one of the higher end options, which came with question marks of their own. And unfortunately, it's not a great rookie class at the wide receiver position. It's not necessarily a bad one, but we've seen better.
Well, maybe that moves us to the draft, Gary, where Ridley's the only name that gets thrown around from the wide receiver position in that spot. But there are more wide receivers. It's not thought to be deep, though. It's not thought to be the Hall of Fame caliber, certainly not in the first round even.
No, there's not that no-brainer top 10. I mean, there's always a possibility. I don't think anyone expected Corey Davis to go 5th overall last year. So there's always that chance that a guy is going to surprise and be drafted a little bit higher than people expect. But I'd be surprised if it's going to be a guy, it's probably going to be Ridley, sneaks his way into the top 10. I expect he will probably be there on the board at 16.
He is Gary Davenport. He is IDP Sharks out on Twitter as well as at Bleacher Report, where he covers the National Football League and certainly the story of the draft, as always, the quarterbacks and how many and to whom and for what. Some thoughts about how you see this thing coming. I hear more about Josh Allen at the end, that he would not make it past Denver. Obviously, Darnold's there and Rosen's there. They're going to be 1-2, 2-1, 1-2-3. Barkley's also involved in that. But who takes what and who goes where? If Sam Darnold winds up in Cleveland, it's just, poor Sam Darnold. That's all I could say.
I think we're going to see at least 5, and possibly harken back to the great quarterback draft of 1983, where 6 quarterbacks went in the first round. That's not to say these guys will be as good as those quarterbacks were in 83. That'd be a pretty tall order.
Well, in the case of
go ahead.
In the case of Mayfield and Jackson, those are sort of the wild cards because they've been selected everywhere up and down the board. Pretty much at this point, Allen, Darnold, and Rosen are in your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. The other two guys are a little bit of a wild card, right?
Yeah, although I think we'll see Mayfield sneak into the back half of the top 10. I do believe we'll see Lamar Jackson drafted somewhere in the first round, although I'm not sure. I mean, it could be anywhere from the 20s to, if the Arizona Cardinals took him to 15, I wouldn't be shocked because teams get quarterback fever. If they don't have one, they get desperate to find one. And I can't help but start to think that maybe Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State might sneak into day one. He's not a guy that a lot of people were anticipating would be drafted in round 1, say, a month ago. But once again, there's such a premium at the position. And there are more teams out there looking for that franchise quarterback than there are franchise quarterbacks to go around.
Mike McGlinchey's been mocked by lots and lots of folks to the Ravens at 16. I'm hearing more about him moving up the board and maybe him not being there at 16, and more about maybe hearing that Calvin Ridley would be there at 16.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the thing with the tackles this year is there's not that clear-cut number one guy. You know, maybe a guy like Connor Williams might have a little bit higher ceiling than McGlinchey. But McGlinchey looks so technically proficient, NFL ready. He's probably the highest floor guy. So it's going to be which team views which tackle, because there are teams that need them, and tackle is usually a premium position. It's just we don't, much like a wide receiver, we just don't have that elite guy this year. I would give McGlinchey probably about the same odds of Ridley, that he'll be there for the Ravens at 16. It's a 50-50 shot. That's right about the time when those guys are going to come off the board.
He is Gary Davenport. He is out in Ohio. Even though I'm not going out there to hate on the Columbus Blue Jackets, I will do that from here. We will be doing a viewing party for all things Caps games 3 and 4 next week. We'll be telling you more about that as we get the series going here. But Gary's out there in Ohio wearing the Browns hat, and we'll get to that in a moment. All of our WNST programming brought to you by Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. Branches throughout Baltimore and Maryland. The unique hands-on approach to banking. Also brought to you by our friends at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast, the tasty coffee, the best fried chicken in the land. Just ask Justin Tucker. He'll tell you all about it. And make sure you get that Rofo app. You download that to your phone. Use that when you're gassing up. It'll get you some Western fries and some of that tasty fried chicken free of charge as you add up the points. The morning newspaper ships directly to your email inbox each and every morning digitally at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And don't forget our morning newspaper now featuring the Laurel entries for the weekend racing there, as well as the front of our website at WNST.net as we get ready for Preakness, Pimlico, the Black-Eyed Susan, the Pink Day, and all the other great stuff that's going on around the Kentucky Derby, including my wife and I heading down to Laurel for the Derby activities next month. Gary Davenport's our guest, IDP Sharks. The way to find him out on Twitter as well as at Bleacher Report. I had to go at you with the Cleveland Browns. I was going to say, Gary, the Browns are going to win the draft, right? I mean, they're going to have to, just based on the picks.
Yes, I mean, with the capital that they have, there have been so many years it's broken record time that the Browns have gone into the draft with a ton of picks and come out of it with nothing because they just completely blew it. John Dorsey had, to his credit, a pretty decent first free agency. They didn't necessarily land any huge targets outside of Jarvis Landry, and that was a trade and not a signing. But they also, I think, he managed to stay away from overspending. There were some guys that got some pretty eye-opening deals elsewhere in the NFL, and the Browns didn't really overpay. He got a bridge quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, who is not a world beater, not going to set the world on fire, but he's arguably already the best quarterback the Browns have had since they returned to the NFL in 1999, which is a pretty depressing statement for Browns fans, but it's an accurate one. You've got to get your quarterback this year. Just use the number one pick on the quarterback. Don't be cute. Don't overthink it. The Browns are king of both, and it's gotten them nowhere. Best player available at 4, trade down at 4 with, say, Buffalo, who's sitting on 2 first-rounders and wants to move up and get a quarterback.
Well, in the case of the Browns and you being a Browns fan and them screwing up quarterbacks and trying not to screw this one up, how do you screw this one? I mean, Darnold's like sort of the safest guy, right? Like, that's why everyone's mocking that. But, Allen and Rosen have also bounced around, and I know they probably have done more on this than any other team, just working with these guys and trying to figure out who Hugh Jackson wants there.
Were it me personally, from the tape that I've watched and my understanding of the quarterbacks, I would go Josh Rosen. I can understand the logic behind Sam Darnold. As a fan, I think Browns fans should be fine with that pick. It's a decent pick. Baker Mayfield would obviously, that would be you would have to be supremely confident in Baker Mayfield to take him first overall in the draft, and I don't know that they are. And Josh Allen, huge arm, looks the part of an NFL quarterback, but I just cannot get past that 56% completion percentage. And the list of guys with huge arms that looked the part, that completed around that percentage of passes in college, who got to the NFL and did nothing, is a lot longer than the list of players with that kind of completion percentage who got to the NFL and found success.
Well, the whole Wyoming thing's a little bit of a shaker, right, to begin with?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people use that for a caveat. Well, look at the talent he had around him at Wyoming. If you look at his drop pass percentage, it really wasn't that bad. And they're also not playing the same level of competition that a USC or a UCLA or an Oklahoma is. From the film I've watched, he makes some beautiful, the deep ball he throws, when it's on, he can throw it the length of the field. But there's just too many throws where he's just flat missing. And maybe that can be corrected with improved mechanics and better footwork and all the things they like to throw out there with Allen. But I go through the list of the Jake Lockers and whatnot of the world who were inaccurate college quarterbacks, and when they came in, everybody said, that's all right, we'll improve his mechanics, his footwork, et cetera, he'll be fine. And they were just always inaccurate, versus there's only one superstar quarterback I can ever think of off the top of my head who completed less than 60% of his passes in college, and that was Brett Favre. Matt Ryan, too. Forgive me, too.
Well, Gary Davenport joining us here, IDP Sharks, and getting ready for the season here in the offseason. There's been no lack of commerce for quarterbacks this offseason, as well as no lack of commerce for just trades in general. I think the temperature has changed amongst the younger guys running the league about trading and about unseating quarterbacks and moving guys around. I thought the Cousins deal was kind of incredible, and the way it played out over the course of a couple of years, where you have a franchise quarterback but not a real franchise quarterback, but are you going to pay him or are you not going to pay him? That you go back and forth, and then you have the buyer's remorse. I don't think the Ravens have buyer's remorse, but certainly some of the fan base does.
Kirk Cousins, things in the end appear to have worked out about as well for Kirk Cousins as they possibly could have. He played 2 years on the franchise tag, making $20-something million guaranteed. Now he goes to Minnesota, where he gets $384, every dime of it guaranteed, which is unprecedented in the NFL, a fully guaranteed contract of that size. And if everything goes even halfway well, he's going to hit free agency again when he's, 32 years old. He could sign another $100 million contract 3 years from now.
Well, it's never been an issue for the Tom Bradys and the Matt Staffords and the guys that come in, the Phillip Rivers, that never, ever moved. Breeze, once he got to New Orleans, never moved around. I don't know that there's all that much bouncing around when you have a franchise quarterback. The question is when you don't think you do and someone else thinks that they are. Look at what Case Keenum did this year. Look at what Nick Foles did, and obviously winning a Super Bowl this year. I think it's going to sort of open up the conversation for, maybe there's more guys that can do this than maybe we think we can. Maybe there's a better system to do this. Maybe we don't need to go franchise quarterbacking there. But certainly anytime you get a chance at the top of the draft, the notion that you said franchise or quarterback fever, that you're going to turn Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson or something into an is when they're all just might be's. And you're in Cleveland. I don't need to tell you that, right?
Well, and it's just the advantage that it can provide to a franchise, especially if you can get a young quarterback who's on that rookie contract, who's making nothing compared to what even Case Keenum or a guy like that, a mid-tier NFL starter is going to make $18-20 million. You get a guy on his rookie deal, you're paying him $4 or $5, and it frees up. You
pay $18 million for the guys you don't want.
It frees up so much money on your roster to go get players at other positions, and we're seeing the LA Rams take advantage of it this year in kind of an interesting way, in that they're going out and getting a Brandon Cooks and a Marcus Peters and an Ndamukong Suh and spending more or less every dime they have under the cap to get them, but they're all one-year deals because the Rams know coming up you're going to have to pay Aaron Donald all the money ever, and then you're going to have the Jared Goff extension coming after that, and it completely changes the dynamic of your salary cap. That's the reason Miami didn't get rid of Ndamukong Suh because he couldn't play. They got rid of Ndamukong Suh because he was killing their salary cap.
Gary Davenport is IDP Sharks out on Twitter as well as at Bleacher Report, covering the National Football League, getting ready for the draft. We're getting ready for the schedule to come out. I'm watching hockey, baseball, basketball, getting it all done around here. It is all brought to you by our friends at Cole Roofing. We all felt that March wind blowing through here and the rain. Make sure you get someone up onto your commercial roof space to at least give it an inspection after the rough winter to see how summer will hold up. It's Cole Roofing as well as Pfister Energy sponsoring our Thursday community and charity series. Also brought to you by our friends at Box Hill Pizzeria. The best crab cakes in Hartford County can now be shipped anywhere. It is boxhillpizzeria.com. They are remodeling the fantastic dining space they have up there in Abingdon, moving the dining room out a little bit. You drop by, you see that. Bring the crab cakes home with you right now and sit down. Come a little later in the spring and enjoy the new environs at Box Hill Pizzeria up in Abingdon. Gary, all season, you talk about the Rams making moves. Obviously, the Eagles made some moves as well. Some of the rich have gotten richer here in the offseason as far as the initial moves and getting through free agency. I don't know who improved more than the Rams. It'd be hard to find a team did, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and it's the big names, the splash guy. And there's one thing that makes me a little reluctant about anointing the Rams as, this is a team that's going to be a trendy Super Bowl pick in a lot of circles. It's that they also brought in a lot of personalities, let's put it that way, in Sue and Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's any defensive coordinator in the NFL that can hold those guys together and keep that train on the track. My money would be on Wade Phillips and the personnel. I mean, you think about Sue and Aaron Donald on the same defensive line. That's pretty scary. You look up at Minnesota, and they added Sheldon Richardson to a line that already had Daniel Hunter and Everson Griffin and Linval Joseph. And then, like you said, the moves that the Eagles made with the addition of Michael Bennett. I mean, the NFC's big dogs just got that much bigger. And you look out at that NFC West now with a San Francisco team that was on fire at the end of last year, thinks they have their quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. And that Rams team, that division's going to be a tough one for the Seahawks to stay in contention in next year.
Good off-season of activity. Many, many more conversations to be had as we get up on the draft and then after the draft. Here's Gary Davenport, IDP Sharks, out on Twitter as well as at Bleacher Report. Gary, always great to check in with you, talk a little football, man. God bless your Browns. I know they're going to win the draft, so I'll call you after the draft, and you can tell me how great Sam Darnold and Brad Chubb are going to be, okay?
If I can get through the draft without crying, that's all I ask, Nestor.
Well, then there's the season, I mean, hey, by the way, we're coming out your way. We're going to be out in Canton, Ohio. First off, the Caps are playing in Columbus this week, so we got that going on. But we're going to be out there in Cleveland and in Canton, Ohio for our Ray Lewis sojourn this summer. So we'll be spending plenty of time out with you nice folks in Ohio.
Sounds good, sir.
Gary Davenport joining us here. It's all brought to you by our friends at buyatoyota.com. The audio vault is there for you 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. It's no static at all, kind of like Steely Dan. And by the way, they're playing the Model Lyric in the fall as well as the Wild Kratts Kids Show this week. The PBS sensation, the 4:30 show, has some seats available for the Wild Kratts at the Model Lyric this week. They are our new partner. We're going to be telling you about the Britt Floyd show coming up on the 26th of the month, the night of the draft, as well as if Jackson Brown shows up the Thursday before Derby weekend next month. So it's got to be somebody's baby. Lawyers in Love. Dr. My Eyes. Jackson Brown at the Model Lyric. You can learn more at model-lyric.com. Our partnership with them just beginning. Speaking of partnerships, we're partners with the Baltimore Brigade as well. This Friday night, they will kick off their arena season against the Washington Valor. Tickets available at baltimorebrigade.com as well as via the Monumental Sports app, where you can watch the Brigade play, get tickets, and follow them on the season as they are into year number 2 now. And I'm wearing my Brigade hat. Doesn't it look nice? It's got a big B on it. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.